She almost just jumped off. Hello, everybody, and welcome to 48-hour art check round. Oh, Emily, what round?
114.
114. We will have Cory Kerr on in a little bit. He will be hopping on, but for now, we're just going to get started with. Bless you, Rusty. With what we've gotten done in the past 48 hours. No, not 48. Week. Something. Since Wednesday.
Yeah.
What you got done?
Not like a crazy amount. I finished the butterfly. I don't think it actually looks any different than last time I showed it. Maybe it just has a body. But it's been animated now too. But yeah, I finished the butterfly, sent it off. It's done. So that's cool. Oh, hey, Cory's here. So I finished that. And then, I should probably pull up this on my end so I can actually navigate it. Did this esophagus thing. And then I made a little deer with
I love that.
Thank you. I didn't know how to draw a deer. Now I know how to draw the top half of a deer. Yeah. And that's really it. The head is separate, so it can move. But that's it. Yeah, that's it. Not a lot. Yeah. What about you, Kayla?
Sorry.
I couldn't remember
new family
all these people. I couldn't remember who goes next.
If I leave, the issue is Jacob's not home. If I leave him alone, there will be a whining dog for the next hour.
That's okay because we all want to see him.
Mm-hmm.
Emily in particular, Kiley and Emily in particular.
Show me the baby.
I see him plenty, but he is still cute.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Stop. Chill. Okay. Where did my screen go, guys? Did I get rid of it?
To be honest, I don't know if you pulled it up.
Yeah.
Okay. I've been doing my mock-ups. So this is a Disney one. I tried to kind of make it look like it was like engraved in the mug. It's not perfect, but it went pretty well. And then this next one actually is like the luggage tag thing, which I actually took a picture of it. It was a Southwest luggage tag and then made it completely blank. And like
so you just swapped the companies.
Yeah. Well, I didn't want to do Southwest because then I felt like that's like cheating and weird.
Yeah.
So I swapped the companies. But yeah, I just we like stole a luggage tag from the Southwest desk and we're like halfway late to our flight and I just like we stood in the middle of the airport and I was just like taking pictures of him as we were walking to our gate.
Nice.
So you'll see each of them has like my logo incorporated into it. And then this one was actually really hard and I'm not happy with the way that it turned out. I had a plan for it and my plan just went completely sideways. I was going to basically make it to where it would automatically add a stroke. But when I went to blur it, because obviously I was trying to do a depth of field and shadows and stuff, the stroke effect does not blur when you blur something. So I was using it wrong. There's a very high chance of that. And then this last one.
That was my favorite.
Thank you. It was not at all what I had planned to do. I hadn't had this one sketched or anything, but I found it was a Delta help desk.
You weren't at Subway?
It was a Delta help desk in the
What?
Yeah, it was the Delta help desk.
That one looks like a mock-up that you could like buy
on the internet. I was gonna say the same thing. Like it's very like clean and the angle that you took it is very nice.
The lighting is perfect.
Yeah. We were we had like landed, and I was gonna take a picture of like a restaurant sign and then edit that, and none of the restaurant signs worked, and I was like, crap, I'm gonna be editing like a bathroom sign to look like a restroom sign. And we were on those little like, you know, those little runway things. We were on that, and I looked over and I saw that, and I just like hopped off, went back, and just stood in the middle of the airport just taking pictures of it. But,
Nice.
yes, that was the Delta Help Desk.
That's wonderful.
Yeah. But and then I did a commission, but I don't know if the person that commission was gifted for has seen it yet, so I can't show it.
You're a busy bee.
I don't know what you're talking about.
You're busy. Well, it's the phrase a busy beaver, because then you're a busy beaver. But you're really busy. You're doing a lot.
Both are busy, so
the goal is building a portfolio right now, and getting money off of commissions is nice too. So
yeah.
Kylie,
will someone share my screen?
Oh yeah, I'll do it.
Thank you. Okay, so I said last time I went to work on embroidery, I did not do nearly enough. I did pretty much everything. I'll explain why in challenges, but did pretty much everything last night with embroidery, and it wasn't very much. So I did this Thor's hammer because we watched Thor Ragnarok, my husband and I did. I did this number 7 birthday candle, which is a long story, but it represents my husband's 27th birthday. My family only had a number 7 birthday. That's what it was. I did this for the day I cut my hair. I like really just tried to get a lot done, and I didn't really. Then I was like playing around with this idea I had for like, instead of hot girl summer, which was like a trending thing, I think last summer, shot girl summer, like because of the CDC update. And this was my first draft of the idea. And then I ended up doing this. And that was kind of fun to play around with. It's very different than my normal style. And I don't like think it's that good, but it was still just challenging myself and like trying to get more creative. This is a picture of my friend, who's a yoga instructor in town. And I did this illustration of it. Part of this is like a lot of the time when I'm like feeling like I don't have enough content and stuff, I'll just pick a random person that I care about and I'll do an illustration of them, because then I feel like I could like gift it to them and then I have more content. And I haven't ever done anything like this. Like I don't do a lot of like active like illustrations. Mm-hmm. I thought that would be fun to add in my feed. And then I also volunteered to help design some stuff for the Rexburg Juneteenth celebration, which I really wanted to do because I think that's an awesome cause. But at the same time, they asked for my number today and they're like, we might have you design a few other flowers. And I was like, oh dear. And I was like, I don't know that I can, but like for sure send me what you need and I'll let you know if I can help. But I designed this because they needed like volunteers and performers. And it was pretty quick, but I liked how it turned out and they were happy with it. And so that's what I did.
Can I just say, I know one of the brushes that you used.
Yeah, I know. I
gave you those.
Yeah, you gave me that brush pack, and I like haven't used it very much, and so I was like playing around with it a lot. For the Shot Girl Summer, and I was like, I'm gonna just try this. And I don't know. I'm not very good at using like brushes outside of my very like comfort zone brushes, which are mostly like line work. And so I was like, I'm just gonna try this.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay.
Well, Kerr, what did you do?
Kerr, yeah, not really. Since you
have something pulled up.
Yeah, do you guys want to play it?
Yes.
I don't think I'm allowed to.
There we go. Oh, hey!
Cool.
Oh, hey!
It's better with the music, but
I wonder if there's a no. It says you have to unmute it. That's weird. Okay.
Wow, that's cool.
And then it bursts open, the butterfly comes out. Yeah, so that
turned out so
you
cool.
can listen to the, let's see if I press this button.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I hired Emily to illustrate some stuff, and she put up with me saying I want everything on a different layer, so that sounds like 40 billion different layers. And if you look really closely at the background, like ignore the butterfly, the caterpillar and stuff, like you can see how many different layers are like
The grass
moving.
moving.
Wow.
We did that, and then let me see. Do I have this one pulled up? Let me pull this up. And then I also did this one. Let me stop that. Remove from stream. Share screen here. And so I also have this rig, which is the butterfly. And so I can probably play that through. So the wings kind of unfold. So they're like all crumpled up and then they unfold.
Mm.
And then the
Cool.
original butterfly rig is much more complicated. And I shared this on Instagram the other day, so some of you might have already seen it. But it has all of the, sorry, it's like zoomed out. Let's play like 8 seconds of it. It's got all the glitter layers and everything. So it's a little
So
iridescent. Kind of
Yay.
as it flies and flaps. And so in theory, I can take these glitter layers and I can move them around. And I think I just broke them, but one of them is attached to the other one. Okay, this one is attached. So yeah, it's jumping around. It's because I'm doing it wrong. Anyway, I can take those and kind of move them. And so you've got like inside of this, you get all the different layers. So you can see like there's the rig for all the different layers. So there's quite a few things. So glitters and iridescent stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, that file's a crazy hot mess, but not messy at the same time. Felt bad handing that one off.
It's organized, yeah.
I said, will you draw a butterfly? And then you drew a butterfly that took me 6 hours to rig.
I was
I was like, okay, cool, thanks.
Can I make a rainbow butterfly?
Yeah.
And then I was like, well, if it's a rainbow butterfly, it's a hollow butterfly, which means the light bends and the colors change. So here you go. Have fun with this.
Yep.
I gave you like quadruple the layers you would expect. And then here you go.
Yeah. I
Yep.
don't think you combined a single layer.
No, I didn't know what you needed. So
That's fine. I prefer it that way because then I can separate it as it goes or whatever.
What
But anyway.
plugin is that?
It's a few plugins, but it's mainly joysticks and sliders.
Okay.
So like I've got like this guy down here. That's the joystick. Let me fit. Can I grab this and move it? There we go. So this is gonna rotate. Man, something is being weird right now. But this will like rotate it around like that. And if it goes up, then it tilts, and I can tilt it on the Z space that way. So the whole thing is kind of rigged up. So anyway.
yay.
Yeah.
All my stuff is moving.
Yeah. Yeah. So now I've just got to animate the whale that this butterfly lands on. Oh, and then we're just talking the last 2 days, right? So then I also
We're talking since last Wednesday, actually.
Oh, we probably don't have enough time to go over all of that. But I also finished drawing this buoy, which is going to be floating in the air, and then the seagull is going to be flying on the top of it. So,
yay!
Yep. So that's what I've done so far in the last just since Saturday night. I think is kind of where I'm at.
Dang.
So.
Oh, okay. That's awesome. Okay. Challenges. We just keep on going in the same order. Emily.
So me?
Yeah.
I have a good challenge and a bad challenge. First one is I decided to build a PC, so I spent a lot of time shopping for parts this weekend, and that was a lot of what I did. And then I also went hiking. I just had a busy weekend, I guess. And then my bad challenge is work is kicking up, and so I'm probably gonna be working there more than my normal hours and stuff. And yeah, the other designer left, and then another person left, and I have a tight deadline coming up, and I'm just like, oof. So yeah, that's my challenges.
For me, I went to Texas. I didn't look at the class calendar before I planned a trip in the spring break, and so I wound up doing my 18 days while traveling and seeing family that I didn't really get to talk to for 10 years, which is emotionally a lot. And so that was just kind of killer. And then, we got a puppy who whines at night and barks at night because he doesn't like being in his crate. But if you take him out, then he is too small to be able to explore anywhere. So he doesn't like that. And so that was just I took 2 naps today because I barely slept last night. Oh, and then I thought I knew Photoshop really, really well. I was pretty Kerr's laughing. I was pretty confident in this project. And now I'm 5 days in, and I did a week 0. I didn't completely fill in this whole sketchbook, but I take time every day to keep going at it. This way I have ideas because I'm adapting to, wow, this thing would be awesome. And the engraved mug thing, I took all of the pictures so this way it could be that. And I still had to do that. So far out of my realm of abilities is what I'm learning. So it's fun because I'm learning something new. So it's not necessarily a bad challenge, but I thought I knew what I was getting myself into, and I didn't. And so that, and every day it's just oh yeah, I'm the old, and I still even that that Subway one that was your guys' favorite. That one I got in and I was okay, I'm just gonna do a perspective work. And then I started messing with it and I was that's not what I need at all. And so I'm having to Google stuff and I don't know how to word the questions because in my head it's just how do I make this thing do the angle?
Yeah.
It's Googling, trying to figure out what a song is when you only know the melody, it's the song that goes do, 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 do.
Yeah. So yeah, that just rough. And then I did all of my stuff because I had this goal to edit these pictures for my friends that I took. And I was okay, on the car ride home, I'm going to edit them all and they're all going to get done. And then I pulled out my laptop and I said, I put them all on my PC, so I cannot do this. I put them all on the wrong computer. So, but yeah, it's all good challenges. It's just stuff that's all right, yeah, this is unexpected. The only expected challenge was going to Texas, and I knew that I was getting the puppy. But yeah, that was unexpected too because nobody warned me about how much work a puppy takes. And everybody's oh, you and your husband now have a toddler, and I'm yep,
a tiny toddler.
We have a toddler that can hide under the couch.
And never ages past that toddler age.
Yeah.
Just
yeah.
It'll get easier, but also I'll talk to you about the nighttime because he was literally so good for us every night. I think if you need a bigger blanket over his kennel or something, we'll chat because I'm girl, you should get more sleep than that. He was
yeah, no, and we didn't toddler proof the apartment or anything. So we're like, we're fine. We didn't think he would be able to fit under everything, so he can chew every single cord that we have. So our office, like, unless he's sitting on my desk or Jacob's desk, like, it's closed. It's nuts. Anyways, yeah. Kylie.
So my challenges were I was taking care of a 6-week-old puppy from Thursday night till last night. And he was like really cute. But yeah, puppies are a lot of work. And so it definitely was like I was holding him most of the time and things like that. And also trying to keep him quiet while my husband works from home, which is tricky. So that was like a bit of a challenge mostly just because it took a lot of time, but I knew it was coming. I think the biggest challenge apart from that is just I'm really struggling with figuring out what takes priority in my creative endeavors, because I have been really passionate about this embroidery journal. I love it. I don't want to fall behind, but I have been behind basically since the end of March. Like April, I was pretty behind. This May, I'm definitely behind. And I can just sit and like put a lot of time into it, but I've started to try and put more time into my business. And so I kind of feel like I'm like at a place where I have to choose, like, am I going to catch up on my embroidery, or am I going to do more sticker designs, more marketing, more content creation, which I think is like objectively more important because it is my sole income besides donating plasma right now while I'm in between jobs. But at the same time, like the embroidery thing is like, if I don't do it like in a timely manner, it won't get done. Like if I get a month behind, there's no way I can catch up, And so I think a lot of it is like figuring out that balance has been really challenging of like, okay, when do I stop working on sticker designs and working on marketing and like content creation and put some time in my embroidery, because I'm just like desperate for my business to succeed and things. So that's been a bit challenging, I would say, but that's all.
Oh, you're muted.
Is it me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bobby.
I have like so much advice to give them based on what I just heard, but do you guys want to share that?
Yep.
So I forgot to share this one. I got this one done within the last 48 hours too. But one of the challenges I have is that I hired this artist. she drew a butterfly so complex that it took me 3 times as long. Just kidding. It turned out great. I'm not kidding. That actually happened. But it turned out great, but it was complex. And then I'm managing a group of people helping me with this animation, right? So I hired out part of this animation. And so I have like to also have like meetings to like explain what I want. So I did this, and then I hired somebody else to rig the other ship. And I wanted it to look as good as this so that people don't look at it and go, oh, that's weird. That one asset looks different than the other asset. And so anyway, luckily after some feedback and stuff, the other one got to this level, which I liked as well. And then I have a 2-week-old now. And so like when you have one kid, that's really hard. And when you have 2 kids, it's like a little bit harder. Like if one kid is like a 10, then like your second kid is like it ups it another 3. So now you're at like 13. I'm finding that the third kid is like 130. Like it just takes the first 2. Now you're outnumbered. And like you don't have 3 arms. And so literally if my wife isn't there, and so anyway,
they can take you
it's
down.
Nuts. I don't even know how to describe it, but we're outnumbered, and then our 2-year-old has decided, who's been pleasant and calm his whole life, has decided like this month to like move into like the kind of that terrible 3 situation. And he's like destroying things and super energetic and like refuses to listen and is much faster than most of us. So he's just anyway. So it's just like he's just a tornado of destruction. So,
Oh my gosh.
so imagine like a puppy that can climb and yell at you and knows how to open and unlock doors,
Yeah, I'm good.
flush the toilet.
No, I'm content. I'm content with my dog.
He does have puppy-like energy, though. You know, he's very
gosh.
puppy-like in his behavior, but he also just has the additional ability of like opposable thumbs.
Gosh.
Anyway, so that's most of my challenges. Plus, like, I am more than burnt out on this animation, and I just want to get it done. And it's still going to be another 80 to 150 hours of work before I'm finished, probably. So I've got another 2 to 3 weeks. Anyway,
Dang.
Fun stuff.
I
Yeah.
would like to add, Emily did not enjoy making that butterfly either.
I was
And
really
so
excited
the whole
at the
time.
beginning.
I genuinely thought you had asked her for a rainbow because she came over to work on it, and she's like, I don't want to figure out this butterfly. I'm doing everything else, so I don't have to figure out this butterfly. I think it's hilarious to find that she's the one that wanted to do the butterfly.
Yeah.
I
Well-
made a suggestion that I liked glasswing butterflies.
And then I found a glasswing butterfly that had like hollow wings, and I was like, that's the one.
Okay, you'll be mad, but I should show you the glasswing butterfly that I illustrated a year or two ago. And it has like 5 layers.
Yeah, it would have been so easy.
Because I didn't decide to make it iridescent. But it turned out great. It's gonna be a nice. I never regret making cool looking stuff. So
Yeah, I was sick of like
breaking everything
it.
up into layers.
It looked fine. I was sick of doing all the stuff that made it functional. Like, yeah, like I was like, I finished this a long time ago. I'm tired of looking at this butterfly.
Every illustrator that I have worked with that doesn't do animation, when they collaborate with me, they're like, the illustration part is fine, but then you want it broken up into so many different layers. I'm like, yep, that's why
that landscape was so nuts, because it was like the end product. There's literally like 50 more layers under that you don't see at the end. You see in the middle. And so it was just like, yeah, this is like, every time I bring it up here, I'm like, I swear I did more than this. I swear. There's so much more that I did, but you can't see it.
There's one scene where the butterfly is going to land on the nose of a whale, and the wings are just going to barely move. And you'll see a lot more of those layers then, because you'll still get like kind of the iridescent nature of it, but it won't be like flapping really quickly.
Yeah, it's just like, yeah, there's so much more. It was like, very often it was like there was so much more that I did, but it is not worth it for me to go in and separate out the layers again, hide 50 layers just to show you that I did more work. Like, there's just too much. I don't want to look at this anymore.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's fun process stuff for the case study afterwards.
Yeah.
Really quick, next 48 hours, well, Emily,
I have to make a squirrel, so I'm going to do that.
okay. I have 2 more mock-ups, possibly 3, depending on when I do the one on Wednesday.
Nice.
And that's all I'm planning for. Oh, and then this whole fan art topic comes into play too. So
Cool.
Kylie.
I want to prepare my next order of stickers. So I should have an order that I placed a week ago. Should be coming in the mail tomorrow. I want to place another order with like the pronoun stickers and like this landscape sticker I've been working on things. Just because I'm getting to the point where I start working at that camp soon. And so I won't be able to like be doing a lot of these orders. And so I'd like to get ahead of the game.
Yeah.
So I'd like to kind of work on that, or at least decide which stickers I want to order and the quantities. And ideally I will also get things onto my Etsy shop that come in the mail if they do come tomorrow, like the shipping information says they will, and like send out the stickers that have already been purchased from the batch that's arriving tomorrow. And I would love it if I could get like one more week, like 7 more icons done on my embroidery journal, because I would feel less stressed if I was only a week behind. So
Kerr, I see you have something pulled up. Do you want me to share it?
Sure. That's what I'm going to do. Probably, hopefully today and not in the next 48 hours, but I am going to animate this whale that I have been studying on how whales move. So I've probably got 14 to 25 drawings to do, illustrations to get it to move the way I want it to.
I have a question about the whales.
Yeah.
Is this inspired by Fantasia 2000?
Probably. It's just in general, like steampunk. I just like the idea of airships and things that shouldn't be in. So the whole music video is based on like something is wrong, you know? And so like you've got like stuff in the air, like it starts with the buoy, you know, or whatever. But yeah, like if you look at Decemberist gig posters, they've got a lot of flying whales and weird stuff like that. So
yeah, there's one of the songs in Fantasia. It's about this baby whale, and they happen to fly, like they swim in the air. So
yeah, they did it. They did another flying whale thing in the first season of what is that? The robot Love, Death, and Robots. Yeah, don't watch it. It's yeah, but yeah, it's flying whales. It's like a thing. But if I have time, which it's looking like I'm not, but if I have time, I'd love to do like some because I've got like the road markers turning into birds and fish. I'd like to do just like jellyfish kind of just floating by.
yeah,
maybe like a squid, because they have that cool like gather and then shoot and jet kind of way of swimming. But
that'd be really cool.
But also I need to finish the animation and not do it anymore. So I need to stop adding to it. But, so yeah, so that's what I'll be doing next little bit.
Nice.
Sweet. Okay, our topic is, that's interesting, is fan art.
Weird for 4 people.
Yeah, it like just pushed everybody up. Our topic is fan art. So I'm in a public speaking class, and I was presented a problem solution speech. Since I'm a graphic designer, they gave me the fan art one. And it's basically like this dilemma of like, you see a bunch of people making and selling fan art, and you see their stuff and you're like, okay, well, I make fan art that's good or better than that, so I could be making money. Should I sell it? And so I had a long conversation with Kerr about this already, like probably like 20 minutes about it. But I was just wondering on like everybody's opinions of fan art, because I know Kiley's pretty passionate about this. But just like coming down to, I guess, like the selling of fan art, what you've learned about fan art.
I actually had a huge conversation with James Rognan like a few nights ago about this too. Or maybe it was like last week. I like texted him like, we need a chat. He's like, I just need to talk to you, because I've always been so passionate about like talking about copyright and spreading awareness of it and stuff. And then like, I'm in this little bit of a dilemma here. So I was talking to him about it. Like, what do you think? Anyway.
Yeah. So this isn't like, no, you're good. This isn't one of those like topics where like I'm going to like, it's more of a, I'm curious as to what everybody has to say, what experience people has had. Kerr brought up some pretty cool examples when I talked to him about it of like, where is it? Basically people got like, Marvel stepped in at one point because there were characters being depicted in a way that they didn't want them, but otherwise Marvel allows fan art, and there's just a bunch of stuff like that. So, because when you come down to it, it's illegal to sell it. Like, that's like, it sounds like it, at least from what I'm studying. Kerr made a face, so I might be wrong. And that's what I'm just going to pass it off to you guys, because I might be wrong. I've been doing research, and it's a very strong debate, and it's hard to find like facts and not bias.
There's a lot of like
everything
opinions. I know Kerr probably knows way more way more than me. But like my understanding was like it's definitely not okay because like that infringes on copyright. When I was talking to Brother Rognan, James Rognan, he was saying, he's like, well, the thing is, it really depends on like you have to look up like the intellectual properties of each like franchise kind of, you know, because some, for example, I have a Schitt's Creek sticker that I sell. Totally like infringes on copyright. But, and I don't know if I should say but, because I still am not really sure if I'm going to like reorder any of them because I don't know how I feel about them. But I know that the creator of the show has been very open about how he really likes seeing people sell like Schitt's Creek things. In fact, he like shares a lot of it and stuff. And so I know some places like are like have different opinions and like different guidelines, like what you said about Marvel. Mm-hmm. Whereas like James said that his cousin or something sold Disney stuff and got a cease and desist letter from Disney. It's not like Disney's going to like, well, Disney's like real stingy about it, which always surprises me how many people sell Disney stuff. Cause I'm like, that I would never mess with that. but like, but also like, you'll most likely get a cease and desist letter, but like, do you want to do something that's like not legal? And like, yeah, it's like easy to be like, well, I'll just get a cease and desist letter. Like that'll be like the max thing I'll get. But it's like, yeah, but that's still like not like, is that a moral or like your ethical decision that you're deciding there, you know, and stuff. And so I know it really depends like also. And like when I did my 21 days of something project, when I was at school, I did stickers based on TV shows. And of course the professors wouldn't give me the okay, like if they thought I was infringing on copyright, you know, it was like, so I was very careful to like not do anything, like do things that more symbols that represented the series, you know? So like with Harry Potter, well, that's not a TV show. I just did like fan. But Harry Potter, I made like a chocolate frog. It was just like a brown color scheme frog, you know, or things like that. And I did things that wasn't really like kind of copyright material. Like with Friends, I did like a duck and a chicken because it relates to Friends, but I didn't like trace the duck and the chicken in Friends. You know, I like made my own like illustration of a duck and a chicken or like a coffee mug, you know, and things that like could relate and were like, what's the word? References to shows, but they weren't like directly pulled from shows. Whereas like the sticker that I keep getting requests for my business is to sell the Cast of New Girl sticker. And I'm like, that is like, I literally used references of the cast, you know, and they're very like, there are a lot of things. Granted, Etsy has like 1 billion people selling like pretty much the same sticker. Same with my Moira Rose sticker, but it's like, that's why I talked to James wrong now. I was like, I need help. I feel morally conflicted. I need to make money and I could do better than these people. But anyway.
Yeah. And then, so one thing that like, I was on like artist TikTok for a while, like graphic design TikTok for a while. And I wound up just getting so ticked off. It's like so mad because when Hamilton came out, people would go in, screenshot and trace Disney Plus, trace it, and then outline in Procreate, trace it, make it a faceless illustration, outline it, and sell it, and make a crap. Like their videos would blow up, and people were just tracing Hamilton.
Yeah.
And so I literally just stopped. Like I follow like I think I follow literally one illustrator because when I got onto that side of TikTok, that's all it was screenshot. You know, like I trace for my faceless illustrations. I take the pictures though. Like, and then they want, okay,
or
hey, you took this.
Takes them.
Yeah, or the client takes them. And it's like, hey,
from their photographer.
Exactly. And it's like, hey, I just want this made faceless. And it's like, yeah, I can do that. I don't charge like crazy, you know, but it's not fan art. It's not like I'm surprised that people didn't get shut down by Disney because it was Hamilton. But like you don't see that. Yeah, you're right. You don't see that for like Disney characters. You see it for all of the like anything that's trending, people are going screenshotting and tracing.
And there's a big
It
difference
drives me
between
nuts.
like your artistic interpretation of like characters and stuff like that, you know, like and versus like just blatantly like taking things that are already made and like tracing it, or like there are things that you can do. It's kind of like when you learn about copyright, you learn about like all the different things that you can do to make it less sketchy. And like you're like, if you don't sell it, and if you use lots of different references, and you also are not using someone else's intellectual property, like, you know, like I use images from Unsplash if I don't have a photo, like as references, just to be ultra safe and things like that. But it's like with this thing, it's like it is someone else's like intellectual property that ultimately you're benefiting from. But some franchises like aren't bugged by it, but it's still not really legal. I don't know.
Yeah.
Kerr probably knows more, but
Yeah, Emily or Kerr, what do you guys?
I'm actually selling some fan art, just a tiny bit. I have,
You really?
Yeah, Powerpuff Girl prints. They're
They on your
adults. Yeah, they're on Etsy. They're adults, and they're also there's this one episode where they want to be different superheroes. So it's them in those costumes as adults. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Yeah, it's really funny because they were like, I want to be a different superhero, and they sucked. They were garbage superheroes that day, and like the city got destroyed and stuff. And they all like had these comics that they loved, and they were like, I want to be this one. And so yeah, I drew them, but it's really funny because when I said it was Powerpuff Girls, nobody knew. Yeah. I was like, you mean you never saw that episode? And people were like, no.
Is it like the Harmony Bunny, Liberty Bell?
Yup.
I can like when you say it's Powerpuff Girls, the difference is like you're making it so stylized, you know, like versus if someone like traced the pout like from the episode, which is like cool, but
here, I'll pull it up.
It looks so
I'm
good.
trying to pull it up, and I'm typing your business name into the search bar, and I'm just dumb using Etsy apparently because it's not showing up.
It was really funny because I typed in Gumminelli and it said, "Did you mean Gumminelli?" And I was like, "Yeah, that's right." So and then I clicked it, and then my shop pulled up. But yeah, there's the Mange, Liberty Bell, and Harmony Bunny. So they were all dressed up as different heroes, and they sucked. And Buttercups was my favorite because she was just like this dark ghost that couldn't go out in the sunlight, and so she didn't leave the house, and then it became night, and she's like, I'll go beat up the monster now. But she waited all day like under a tree or something, and then Bubbles just had a pogo stick. Instead of flying, she got on her pogo stick and just hopped all the way to downtown. And then Blossom just had a lasso, and it was supposed to be like a spoof of Wonder Woman. She had this lasso, and it was supposed to make the criminals feel so guilty that they'd stop doing the crime, but she just had a lasso. And so she'd lasso it and be like, "See, don't you want to stop?" And it was a monster, so it didn't. So yeah. Anyways, that's the long story behind these ones. So yeah, I think that's the only fan art I have is those ones.
I've got a bunch of fan art.
Yeah?
Yeah.
That you sell?
Yeah, do you sell it?
Sold it. I have prints of stuff. Let me see. So where's my? There was one. Oh, here we go. StreamYard, share screen.
Is this the Inktober one?
So this is one I did of.
Oh yeah, I remember this.
Leia killing Jabba the Hutt, because I feel like that's such a cool part in her character arc.
Mm-hmm.
But it was kind of anticlimactic in the actual movie.
Yeah.
And there was actually a manga that did this kind of on the cover from a different angle.
Oh, what?
And I really liked the idea of just pulling super hard on something like that. Because, in the movie, she's kind of like, you know. But, like, in the manga, I was like, oh, that's rad. I like the idea of kind of that being way more, violent. So I did that. The thing that annoys me about fan art is like I did an Artist Alley. I have all this original cool stuff, and I sold out of this in like an hour. And like,
Yeah.
most of my stuff, people are like, "Oh, that's interesting." I'm like, "Okay, thanks." And then I actually did. This is the one Kayla and I were talking about.
Mm-hmm.
I did this one, and this is
like mashups.
You making fun of fan art.
This is me making fun of fan art. Yeah, so this is me mocking the idea of fan art. And so these are all, because one thing that people do to get out of like getting in trouble for copyright infringement is they do mashups, because then we can talk about that in a minute, but it's basically transformative rather than derivative, right?
Yeah.
But usually the mashups make sense. And so I did like Chun-Li mashed up with Spawn, Velma mashed up with Harley Quinn. Papa
When you did this,
mashed up
you would
with-
like release pieces, because you did like a grid or whatever. And my husband and I looked forward to you posting it every day. We were like, what's he going to do?
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, I did this for Inktober, and so I inked a new one every day for 30 days.
Yeah.
And I had so many people really excited about it. And I had at least a dozen people say that they wanted to buy it. They were like really excited to buy it. To date, I have sold one. This was years ago.
I've been listening to Comic Lab, and they are like, yeah, the first person to say that they're going to buy that from you, they're the first one to not reply when you're like, hey, I'm selling it now.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, this is now for sale. And then they just crickets.
And they're like, oh, did I say I was going to give you money? I forgot about that.
Yeah. So anyway, but I have a poster of it. It's pretty big, which is probably why. Yeah, some of these accidentally made sense, like Darth Animal.
Yeah.
I didn't mean that to make sense, but that's
My favorite is Spider-Ang.
That's amazing. Yeah, Spider-Ang is so
Spider-Ang.
good.
I love
I
the
love
Abe
the
Lincoln
Harley
one. The Abe Lincoln one is so good.
Yeah, the Abe Lincoln, Charlie Brown is one of my favorites.
Like the pose he's in is so good.
So all of these poses, talking about copyright, all of these poses are referenced, and I think that was like a catalog pose of like some male model, like
That's what it reminds me of.
throwing like a seat coat over his shoulder and looking all suave. So, but yeah, I don't know. It's good stuff. There's a lot of them. I don't know anyone that would get all of these. I'm trying to think.
I know I wouldn't.
No, I
Yeah,
know.
so it's a lot of 80s culture.
I can tell you what the people in my class pull out of it if you want.
Yeah, I'd be interested. Oh, did you use this in your talk?
Yeah, I asked you if I could.
Mhm.
It's going to be my intro, actually. I'm going to be like, okay, I'm going to show you a picture. You have 10 seconds. And then I'm going to turn it off and then tell me what characters you saw.
Oh, cool. That'll be fun.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I'll have a friend record it so you can hear who everybody found.
Yeah, that'd be good. I like Popeye the Barbarian and Koopa Troopa and Hellboy and Max mixed up. Anyway, but I think my favorite is probably Neon Genesis Evangelion and Optimus Prime. So like Unit 01 and Prime. And that kind of almost makes sense too, because they're both Prime, like one thing. But anyway, so I did that I was kind of annoyed about my other poster just like doing so well. It's like, fine, I'm just gonna do one to make, because like, nobody wants to buy this because these are characters that I made up, or whatever. So
that's the thing that's
I
really...
recognize the middle one. That's in Put Your Heart Into It.
Yeah.
That guy.
I did this illustration first, and then later I was able to reuse the illustration and go cut it up and put it into that shirt.
I remember you making that one distinctly because I was in Vector Graphics, and you hopped on hopped on live to like draw it or whatever, and you were just ranting about social media algorithms. And I was like,
Oh,
this
yeah.
is a pretty cool professor.
Look how angry he is. This is one I accidentally stole from Emily. Do you remember that, Emily?
Oh yeah.
I had this idea that I felt like came out of pure ether. And I was like, oh, it would be rad to have like a profile of the skull and have like the jaw like dislocated and have it like screaming. And so I totally drew it. And then I looked back at Instagram and I was like, oh, that's where I got the idea. Emily posted that drawing yesterday.
Wait, I want to go look at it because I remember the skull, but I don't remember how I remember like the colors, but that's about it.
Yeah, I just remember like the idea of it was awesome. And
I remember the background was red and I used like more line art than you would see normally in my stuff now.
Yeah, and that might be something that maybe I didn't recognize it. But anyway, that happens a lot. They call it what is that called? In trademark, it's called spontaneous phrase.
Oh, here it is.
There it is.
Yep, that's the one.
Oh yeah.
I was like, was the mouth open on mine? Yeah, I guess so.
Yep. So, and I remember you were my TA at the time, and I came in the next day and I was like, sorry, I stole your stuff. And I didn't realize I
don't think I even put it together. I was like, lots of skulls today, man.
Yeah, so I mean, for me, it's a transformative versus derivative thing.
Yeah.
So that's the biggest part of fair use that you can get is transformative versus derivative. Intended use is big. Like, there's kind of a blank check for education. They kind of, if you're using it to learn something or using it to teach something, then it's fine, but it limits your use of that thing. And so I try to encourage people not to do that in class because they do that. And then they can't, if people like it, they can't necessarily go and turn it into a t-shirt and a comic book and an animation and whatever else. Because they're limited in that. So you're not going to get in trouble for doing it to learn something, like doing it in school. But I like to have multiple uses for everything. And so if I like that fly businessman, if I use something somewhere, I want to be able to use it again in other places. And so like I always draw things at like 4,000 or 5,000 pixels on my artboard. And that way that gives me the ability to turn it into a duvet or a shower curtain or a print or a sticker or, on and on and on and on and on. And it's kind of the same thing with that. Like I'm hyper limited in,
Kayla left.
We lost.
Uh-oh.
I'm hyper limited in my use of the Hut Slayer because you're back.
Yeah, my Wi-Fi just died.
Oh, okay. Because it's not my intellectual property, right?
Yeah.
And to a certain extent, it was even inspired fairly heavily from like a manga artist. But I changed up the style drastically. I changed the angle. I referenced drastically different things and took my own photos of stuff. But I mean, it's still solidly a scene from a movie, And so as far as like fan art goes, I think what Kiley was talking about at the beginning is really important, is that there's a lot of different types of fan art, like, I don't even know if you could call this fan art, but like Will Terry has a great video that I think I suggested Kayla watch. He's got a great video where he goes through and he does these different levels of fan art. Cause like if you take a screenshot of a movie and you trace something over the top of it, that is drastically different than doing something inspired by something, but is transformative, right? I mean, for example, H. Rider Haggard wrote a book about an English gentleman who was a sharpshooter that like went on these adventures and had an archaeologist friend and discovered King Solomon's mines and all this type different stuff and whatever. And then years later, somebody was like, hey, what if we did like Indiana Jones? And Indiana Jones is basically Alan Quatermain. Like they're almost exactly the same character, right? But they're changed enough to where, they're recognized in different works. And so you have like, instead of being an English gentleman, he's a professor of archaeology, instead of being, a sharpshooter, he uses a whip. And so there's little basic changes like that. But it was fairly transformative. The stories were different. Like if instead of doing like the Ark of the Covenant, if you had, Mel Gibson running in there, Harrison Ford running in there and uncovering King Solomon's mines, it would be like, this is just a ripoff. But like they did a character type and then told a different story with it, and to a certain extent, by the time Shakespeare was done, he basically told all of the stories, and most of the stories that he told were already kind of cliche when he told them. And so there's this idea of like originality that I think is misunderstood. Like being original in creativity is kind of impossible, because you're using existing building blocks to make something. The idea is you make something as different as you possibly can. And within the realm of fan art, it's interesting and you can do interesting things with it. But like, if you're just finding an Art Adams drawing and you're trying to copy Art Adams' pose and style or whatever, you go like J. Scott Campbell recently was having a thing on Twitter and Instagram where somebody redrew one of his drawings to correct it. And
gosh.
Anyway, it was funny. He's like, let me correct your correction. So he went back and started correcting the anatomy or whatever. It was,
oh my gosh.
Why are you punching down? And he's like, I'm not. Like, this person started doing stuff with my artwork and I thought I'd mess with them a little bit. Anyway, so it was like this whole, right? So there's all this stuff, but like, like he owns his characters and he gets to decide what he's okay with and what he's not. When it comes to fan art, one of the reasons that Star Wars is popular is because George Lucas for a long time encouraged people to make fan films and do fun things with it and dress up and, whatever and all this stuff. But like, if you tried to make, Star Wars action figures, he'd probably come down on you.
Yeah.
That was one of his like bread and butter things. Right. But like, if you want to make a fan film, like, because another part of fair use is, does what you made, does it encroach on the potential money-making opportunities for the original copyright holder, right? And a lot of people would argue that like Cory Kerr making a print of Princess Leia isn't going to infringe on Disney's ability to sell movie tickets. A lot of people might argue that it would help.
Mm-hmm.
And so fair use comes into play pretty heavily when you talk about fan art. As a business practice, if you put all of your eggs in the fan art basket, I feel like you're just going to starve to death at some point, because that's too risky. That's like putting my retirement into cryptocurrency.
Also, like
cryptocurrency is fun to play with, but I'm also going to have a 401k and a Roth IRA.
It's risky because there's like this risk of like legal action being taken upon you, but also like, who are you without the fan art? Like, if the answer is nothing, then why do you make art? I don't know. Like, I don't know. You will be more viably, like financially viable if you make a stake in like a creative realm and don't just like add to other people's IP, but make your own, like give people a reason to be excited by your own intellectual property and not just hype up everybody else's stuff, but basically you. So, yeah.
I'm curious where / if it does at all, where parody comes into play when it comes to, because I know that a lot of the time when I was in school, that was brought up so frequently, like when it came to copyright, like, well, with parody, there's a little bit of wiggle room and stuff. And so I'm just curious where that comes into play and if it's substantial enough at all when selling like fan art based off someone's intellectual property. Like, I guess that's probably just like if it's transformative versus derivative, but I'm curious if it changes anything.
Oh, definitely. So parody is part of the fair use clause.
Yeah.
Not clause, the fair use doctrine, because the problem with fair use is it's not actually written down anywhere. It's not part of the law. So fair use is a doctrine that the courts have decided to adopt to help them interpret the law, which was written before the internet existed. And so like right now, you know, so let's say Emily draws something or Kiley draws something and I'm like, oh, cool. And I share that on Twitter, right? I'm like, hey, check out this thing. I technically do not have the legal copyright to repost that because that's a publication. I just published it, right? Now, Kiley might be cool with that, but if I don't get permission, and I don't have written permission for that, I am technically in breach of copyright laws to do that. Because copyright law was written, I think the most recent version of it was pre-80s or early 80s, right? And so like it's very outdated and it's very rigid. And it's at the point now where because of the internet and because of social media, every person on the planet that has a smartphone is basically infringing on people's copyrights hundreds of times a day.
Yeah.
And so fair use doctrine is something that the courts came up with to say, well, like, let's use this to interpret the law because the law doesn't fit this new situation, right? And so what they've said is that parody and commentary are two things that pretty solidly give you fair use. So like Saturday Night Live and Mad TV and, you know, Mad Magazine and the news and Philip DeFranco and, you know, the people that are doing like, you know, critiques and rundowns of Mandalorian episodes and whatever, they're all in commentary or parody. And they're not getting sued because you are allowed to talk about stuff. That's part of that. The courts have ruled that. Now, is it Logan Paul? I think Logan Paul's company is suing a bunch of people right now for like rebroadcasting a fight that he was in. Or something. And
yeah, I know he was in a fight.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he does these pay-per-view. I don't know. I don't like watching people fight, and I also think Logan Paul is a fairly trash person. But
yeah.
So I'm not super interested in doing anything that gives him money.
I remember seeing people being like, I'd pay to see him get beat up, but I don't know if I want him to win. Like, right. Then it's not worth it.
And so what happened is people are like, oh, well, you know, I hate that guy. And so there are apparently, according to this lawsuit, allegedly people that bought one viewing and then rebroadcasted that viewing to hundreds of thousands of people. And so hundreds of thousands of people didn't have to pay, right? If that happened, you know, that's clearly copyright infringement. But it's technically in the same category as me reposting something that Kiley drew.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so the law is very gray and very outdated. But pretty solidly, you usually have a decent case if you're claiming copyright or if you're claiming fair use from parody but your parody has to be funny, right? Or it has to be making a message. So like there's a really famous image that Norman Rockwell did of a kid sitting next to like a local sheriff at the like, you know, the soda fountain, right? And they're getting like a soda together. And somebody did the same painting, but they put the local sheriff in like riot SWAT gear next to like a black kid. But like the poses were exactly the same and it was painted in exactly the same style. It was intended to reference Norman Rockwell's thing, but the message was transformative. And it was a commentary on the difference between when Norman Rockwell painted that in the 50s and what's going on now, you know, in 2020, 2021-ish, right? Or I think it was probably 2015 or something when that came out.
Yeah.
But like it was a commentary. And so because it was a commentary, it'd be considered parody and commentary rather than copyright infringement. Whereas, you know, who's Shepard Fairey doing the Obama Hope poster. He got sued by the AP photographer that was like, hey, that's my photo that you basically just traced over. Yeah. And so everybody who's like, oh, well, you know, it looks different because I did it in vector. It's like,
still traced it.
Proven in the courts that if you trace over a photograph in vector, that it is clear copyright infringement.
Yeah. or just like it's impossible for your image to exist without my image, let alone like it's different. If it was like the concept of Obama, right? Like it couldn't exist without Obama, whatever, right? But it couldn't exist without
The
you
lighting,
tracing
the angle.
literally my work.
Yeah. So there's a lot of nuance in it. But when it comes to fan art, I think there's a couple things. I mean, one is like a lot of these companies will actually hire people based on seeing their work. They'll say, "Oh, I saw this thing that you did. I saw this fan art that you did of Spider-Man, and like, come draw Spider-Man for us now," you know, or whatever. And so, and I mean, like the fact that Comic-Con has existed in all of its varieties, you know, for 20 to 30 years now, and every single show has a whole alley that's basically like 80% fan art that DC and Marvel and Disney and all of those guys are like hyper aware of. They're aware that it exists. They're not doing anything about it. And part of trademark law, which is different than copyright law, but part of trademark law is that if you don't defend your trademark,
you can lose it.
Then you can lose it, right? And so there's I think a decent argument to say, like, within certain instances that these companies are okay with that happening.
Do you think? Oh,
sorry, go ahead.
Do you think part of it is just like it all just blew up so fast and just artists just started making fan art like so much that it just kind of became more like an unstoppable?
Yeah, because there's so much like blatant copyright issues on like Etsy or something, but like the sheer number, like I, out of curiosity, because the sticker that I put my stickers on Etsy like a week ago, and I was like, I wonder how far you'd have to scroll to even find this, even though I used so many hot words, I SEO'd it a ton, you know, and it was like, I never found it. It was just page upon page on page. And I just used like Moira Rose Schitt's Creek sticker or whatever. And they're all like, most of them, some are even screen grabs from the show. Like it's not even traced photo. It's like a screen grab from the show, with, like hand lettering underneath. And I'm like, this is all like, and it's like that with every TV show, every like fandom, I feel like. And I think, it must just be like the sheer number.
Well, that's not Etsy alone. I mean, because you got like TeePublic has got the same thing, but like TeePublic has started doing really interesting things because
TeePublic is only signed up with certain. I tried to sell fan art on TeePublic, and it said this brand or this whatever is not accepting any fan art at this time. So you can buy Criminal Minds fan art, but Criminal Minds is not allowing you to upload any more fan art.
Yeah, so there are very specific things, and they've made deals. So, like, for example, like YouTube, right? I could grab a ukulele and do a cover of a famous song, and I will not get sued. And it's not because I'm not breaking copyright, because I am breaking copyright, but it's because YouTube in 2011 entered into a deal with all of the major music record labels. That they would give them a portion of the ad revenue that's driven off of cover songs.
Okay.
And so that's why you can do that on YouTube, and that you couldn't for a long time on Facebook, because Facebook hadn't made that deal. And so
that makes more sense.
But like without that deal, it would technically be illegal, you know. But because now if I were to release that, you know, on Spotify, I would have some legal issues because I'm publishing it in a different place. Even though it's my recording of it, you know, like I made it or whatever. I've had people steal from me and they said, well, but I made it. I'm like, yeah, it doesn't matter that you made it. Like I own the copyright to that work, you know, and you copied the work. So it doesn't matter that you put the lines down on the page. The lines that you put down on the page are based on what I did. So anyway, it's an interesting thing. It's interesting to take it from like a moral standpoint because I find the law to be immoral. So, you know, like everybody tries to make this like legal does not equal moral, but everybody tries to make this morality play out of it. And I don't think there's a morality play to be had. based in the law. I think there's some ethical and moral issues based on like the golden rule and like how we treat each other as humans. And, just, whether you're religious or not, we all believe that like humanity has some like basic intrinsic baked in good, like this is how a societal contract is what some people might call it, but this is how you behave as a social creature. And it's interesting to me that like every culture has some form of like karma, whether they call it like law of the harvest or karma or, whatever. There's always some idea of like what you put into the world you're going to get that back. But the copyright law as it stands right now, its original intention was included in the U.S. Constitution. The founders of the Constitution decided that it was important enough at that point in time to include it. But it's been since manipulated by lobbyists who are paid by people like Disney to basically shut people down for doing exactly what Disney did. Like Disney's current legal role in the world is to try to destroy public domain and free speech. And their entire catalog is built off of public domain. And so it's one of the most hypocritical and immoral things I think I've seen a company do, short of like actual human rights infringements like slavery and stuff. But like it's pretty underhanded and sneaky. And so I actually don't care that much about the morality of how Disney feels about it. Because I don't think that you get to like punch somebody in the face and then get mad at them for slapping you. Like, like it doesn't work that way, which is basically what they've done. So anyway, so that's kind of my, if you want to make the moral argument about it or anything, but it's interesting. It's an interesting thing. And I mean, like you should abide by the law, but I also think that creativity is a mixture of things. And so, I don't know, but I agree. I think it was Emily, you're saying like, it's just a safer road to make your own stuff. Because if I do, I'll tell you, I sold, I don't know, 20 or 30 of those Hut Slayer posters. All of them bought it because they like Star Wars, and none of them bought it because they like me.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like none of the people that have that up on their wall even remember who I am. And so I'm not building like a client base. I'm not building like a fan base. I'm not building like a reader base. I'm just helping other people enjoy something that I enjoy, but it doesn't help me financially past the $20 that I charged on the poster.
Right.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I feel like
Sorry,
you guys
I'm
are all
writing
about
stuff
it, and here
down.
I am like, the world is terrible and dark and gloomy.
I feel like exactly the way that you feel, because I was like, Disney is fine. Disney's rich. I'm not. Also, they don't care. I am a tiny tadpole. They have bigger fish to fry. They don't care about me, right? Like, yeah. Then again, still, I'm not going to do Disney because I just feel like that's silly at this point. But like,
Yeah.
So you wouldn't even do like Star Wars or something?
I mean, I think the stuff that they bought out, that's not fair.
Disney,
They're gonna own everything by the time I'm 50, so I should enjoy it, So
does Disney own Hanna-Barbera?
I don't know.
No,
I have no idea.
Disney owns Fox. Disney owns Star
ABC.
Wars. Disney owns ABC. Disney owns
Marvel.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're not going to do
Pixar.
Disney,
Pixar started off separate.
what's that?
Pixar started off separate from Disney. They bought it.
Yeah, Pixar was started by Steve Jobs.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not always been Disney Pixar.
Yeah, Pixar. Steve Jobs was fired.
I mean, I knew it wasn't always Disney, but I did not know it was started by Steve Jobs.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Steve Jobs was kind of like ousted from Apple. Like they're like, you're not doing this right. So they got rid of him.
Yeah.
And that's when they did all kinds of weird stuff. Like they started making all kinds of crazy things.
Is that when the laptops turned pink and orange, or? I
think he might have came back and did that. I think that was his like comeback. But anyway, like he was, during his time away, he started Pixar. He's like, I think it'd be really cool if like we did computer animation. And so they did that, and then he sold it, and then Apple took him back because Apple was floundering, and then he made them.
They were like, actually, we do need
You're
you.
making cool stuff, actually.
Yeah.
Very few people credit Pixar with Steve Jobs, but he was there. But yeah, anyway, if you're going to stay away from Disney, you're going to stay away from Star Wars, Marvel. I mean, you're left basically with like DC and Hammer.
They don't
I'm
even
talking-
protect the off branches as much as they protect like.
Yeah.
Right. I'm talking Mickey Mouse and Cinderella and like the princesses. Like I'll draw them, right? But I don't think I'll ever sell a Disney princess.
Okay, well let me ask you this.
Okay.
When you draw a Disney princess, are you drawing a Disney princess or are you drawing a Hans Christian Andersen fairy tale? Or are you
That's
drawing a Grimm Brothers?
I'm gonna say I'm drawing a
That's
Disney
true.
princess because does Cinderella have a little black choker and a bun? Aha! It's Disney Cinderella. But if it was Hilary Duff, that's a different story.
Alice in Wonderland and Lewis Carroll's illustrations looks. I mean, it's not Lewis Carroll's illustration. I can't remember the illustrator. She looks fairly similar to the way Disney interpreted her.
Well,
Okay,
and the same with The Lion King. It was that there was
The Lion King is a straight up ripoff.
Yeah.
Off of
A white
Kimba.
lion. Yeah.
Is it Kimba?
Yeah.
Kimba the White Lion?
It's called
Which is
Kimba.
then- which
Kimba
is
the White
then-
Lion.
Oh, hold on.
Which
Have you
is
not
then
gone down this
Hamlet,
rabbit hole?
but with
I haven't, but I'm
Lions.
about to.
Okay, hold on. Let's just pull this up. This is if
Oh,
you
I
ever
gotta
feel
exit
bad
off the
about
screen.
stealing from Disney, let me just show you.
Right, exactly.
Oh my gosh.
this is gonna be my whole speech. I'd be like,
Yeah.
do you want to make me feel bad about selling this? Look at what Disney did. And they're
Like
gonna be like,
Pride Rock
I've
and
never
everything.
heard this speech.
Yeah.
Okay, are you ready?
Yeah.
So here's Kimba Simba, right? So you've got like they're the main characters.
Oh my
there.
gosh.
There's Mufasa. Here's 1966 with the monkey holding up the white lion.
Oh my gosh.
This
Uh,
is
The
just
White
Yeah.
Lion, Kimba.
I'm so surprised you didn't know
like-
this.
even
you
try
got
to
the
be more original with the
type of
name.
shots. Here's the meerkats. Here's Pride Rock.
Oh my gosh.
Here's this conversation that they're having.
I literally.
Here's Pride Rock, and here's like the white lion eating something he doesn't like, and
They're just like
Simba eating something he
ripping
doesn't
off
like.
other people anyway.
Yeah. Well,
My
and here's the
question-
thing. Oh, what are you gonna say, Kylie?
Okay.
There's Scar being killed.
Oh my god.
Oh my gosh. Because we talked about
The hyenas.
that is so crazy. My mind is all blown right now.
Yeah, this one I didn't know about.
Yeah.
Kayla, your frame for a while was just stuck at you being like
But it was appropriate.
Anytime Kerr comes on, my mind just gets blown. Just watch I'm gonna like make a little compilation of like every time that Kerr's been on the show and my mind just being blown every
Dang.
time.
There's even like
I knew that Disney was bad. This is bad.
there's
Yeah.
even like here's the stupid like bird that's like the
Oh my gosh.
yeah.
Yeah. I just can't believe that they didn't even. They just changed
Wow,
the
Kimba and
first
Simba.
letter. Like
There's
that's
the
what's
there's the
blowing my mind.
wise sage baboon monkey guy. Yeah, it's straight up. I mean, this is like a TV show in the 60s. But like they just straight up copied it. And then went out of their way to like destroy the creator legally. Like
Oh my gosh.
they ruined his life. Like he tried to fight and they just destroyed him.
Yeah, that's the thing is like that's the other reason why I'm like I'm gonna stay away from like why would I ever be big enough that I would ever get into a legal fight with Disney, right? But like it doesn't matter if it's parody, I'll lose. It's Disney. They're richer than me.
Mhm.
So
the good news
Just
is they
by a
will
little.
send you like a cease and desist. Like they're not gonna like.
They're
come
gonna-
from this
they're gonna be
road.
like yeah, like if Disney decided to rip off something I did and I went after them, they'd be like, yeah, bye. I'm sorry I didn't hear you, you know?
You know, the nice thing about this nowadays is I actually think you could actually think you could go after them and get social media on your side.
Yeah. I have been a part of the cancel wave of like, oh, I see that you've stolen from this person. Oh, let's go to their IMDb. Let's write a review of this
Yeah.
thing. Like Adam Ellis gets ripped off a lot. Did you guys know who Adam Ellis is? He was a comic like panel artist, strip artist for
Okay.
BuzzFeed for a while. He just does funny stuff now. He's not with BuzzFeed. But
Oh yeah, Adam Tots.
yeah, Adam Tots.
Yeah, I follow him.
He's hilarious. Anyways, he did like this. He's every now and then he'll do more than like a 4-panel thing, and he'll do like a story. And somebody literally turned his story into a short story, put it into a film festival. It was shot for shot, basically.
Yeah.
This dude like clips his nail, buries it in the ground, comes back later. There's like a clone of himself in the ground. That's it. And that's what the short story was. And so then I went to the IMDb and was like, oh wow, plagiarism. And and it was just delightful to see that there were already a couple hundred of those there. So like, don't plagiarize, because if you do it to the wrong person, like you're gone, you're done.
Yeah.
All that
Yeah,
short story will be remembered for is that they copied. They could have just done their own thing, but they didn't.
Yeah, it's not great to do it.
No.
But I don't know. It's, but I mean, like, the biggest thing with The Lion King is that it's Shakespeare's Hamlet.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I said earlier. I was
I
like,
was gonna say, when you said it's like based off something, I was like Hamlet, and then you were like Kimba, and I'm like Kimba.
Who's Kimba?
yeah,
That's like the same as Simba.
yeah. I think
Yeah.
I was talking and my thing might have frozen, but you said it, and I was like, yeah, Hamlet, and then you said Kimba, and I was like, no.
In a different direction.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, I don't know. I think public domain is important. Here's the thing. The real, it's the spirit of the law, not the letter of the law.
Yeah.
Right? And the spirit of the law is that we need to protect people's effort. Like if I sacrifice to make something, I should be able to reap the rewards of that sacrifice.
Mhm.
Right. Now the question is, should my grandkids be able to reap the rewards of that sacrifice? I think you could make a good faith argument that my kids probably should, right? Because maybe they were in on it, maybe they're part of the inspiration or whatever. But like, third and fourth generation away from the death of the artist, that's overly punitive. And the flip side of it is like, if you lock everything down, like what's happening with music right now, I mean, Taylor Swift goes out and tries to copyright the titles of a bunch of songs and stuff, and it's like
she can't sell her own music.
So she re-recorded all the songs specifically. So
okay, so we're talking about two different things.
Oh, okay.
One thing is that she got screwed out of the master recordings of her music.
Yeah,
and
that's what I know about.
that was bad, right? The other thing is recently she tried to trademark the titles of her songs on the most recent album that she put out, which is a problem because we should be able to use those words in succession.
Right. Okay. Like,
Yeah.
okay, like I can't say okay. Okay.
But yeah, I mean, like it's, for example, like there's only so much you can do.
It's like you can't trademark like ideas or like these very like, well, right. Anyone could come up with that. It's like the idea of like copyright of like some preset. Like I remember talking to James Rognan about like presets and things, and he's like, well, because I downloaded an app. There was a filter that I liked, but it cost money, so I put one of my photos under that filter on the free trial, and then I put the same photo in Lightroom, and I created the preset to my best of my ability on my own so I could use it. And I was talking to him like, is that bad? And he's like, well, Kiley, like you could have just stumbled across like those edits like on your own, like messing around. Like how can they copyright something or trademark something that's like anyone could kind of stumble along. And it's kind of the same with like words and like businesses. Like that's just, I don't know. I think the same with like, if you drew Hans Christian Andersen's like fairy tales and you happen to give Ariel red hair, like that's like anyone, like there's only a few hair colors, you know, like you could easily like say that like everything is derived off this. She just happens to have red blonde flowing hair. You know, it's just interesting to me. Like,
well, and then for example, Beauty and the Beast, Disney does not own the rights to Beauty and the Beast because Beauty and the Beast is an old story, right? But in the story, the main character's name is Beauty. And so if you do Belle, you're in huge trouble because they own the copyright to Belle because that's a creation of theirs. But if you do Beauty, so I mean, if you do Ariel and you have her have, you know, red hair and green seashells and a yellow fish friend, that's Disney's. Like you're kind of screwed. But if you do a mermaid with red hair, you're not necessarily in copyright. And then red and green are complementary colors, so that's like a natural, you know, that's a natural conclusion to draw as far as like fishtail color and stuff like that. So you can make an argument, but I mean, you know, if she's got the big swoop and, you know, and she's posing on the rock and doing all the stuff, then, you know, you're clearly doing that. So yeah, it's a big thing. But I mean, on what you were saying, Kylie, I think that's gray area too, you know, because like, you know, someone coming up with a process and then somebody else like copying that process, it kind of depends on the situation, you know?
I think it's a big difference between like if you bought someone's presets or like you knew exactly what edits were made and you just like change it a little and then sell them as your own, like that's one thing. Whereas I just like looked at how a photo was edited. I couldn't even put my own photo in there, you know, and I was like, okay, looks like they desaturated this and they like upped the contrast, and I just like played around with it. I'm like, yeah, maybe not the best, but like I'm proud of myself for figuring it out.
Yeah, I mean, and it's like, you know, is one illustrator going to get mad at another? I've seen this on Twitter where like somebody gets mad at somebody for like, you stole my inking technique. You know, it's like, yeah, sort of, but you know, like, is that something that you can steal? You know, like, you know, I remember I have original artwork on the walls, and I remember like looking really close and seeing like that some of these artists that I like, they like dip their finger in ink and they fingerprint different parts of it to give themselves like smoke or whatever else. Like, if I do a fingerprint, am I like copying them to a point where it's like considered like theft or immoral or illegal or unethical or something? It's like,
that's like creating a Procreate brush that's similar to somebody else's Procreate brush, and then you're using it.
It's like drawing a circle and somebody else drew a circle too.
It depends, right?
You stole my circle.
If you draw 3 circles and they're a certain size and shape, you're going to get in trouble.
Mickey Mouse.
Well, yeah. But like, if it's like, yeah, well, I got taught by the same person and they taught me how to ink this way. Suck it. I'm sorry. Like,
there's this artist that I follow. She's like a religious artist. And thank you. I had my husband bring the print. I own it first, but please don't. But this artist, like within the religious, especially like the LDS religious art community, like there's a few artists that are bigger, you know? And so there's one artist that has a lot of like floral prints and a lot of like pastel colors and things like that. And it's a pretty recognizable style. However, it's also just really trendy right now, you know? So this artist who I follow, I think her, what is it? Like Sparrow? She didn't sign it. But this is like one of her prints, and it has like some floral printing, you know, and things like that. And it has like kind of like light color scheme. That's her style too. It's very trendy right now. Like, it's not like, but this one artist kind of like all her followers started attacking this other artist and were like, this is totally like based off this other artist. And she's like, no, it's not. Like, I like floral print and I like more light neutral tones. Like, just because she's like also popular, it's just like very common. Then again, I've also seen it. Like, I did call out an artist in her DMs. I wasn't like tearing her apart in her comments. 'Cause
Hating
I
in
really
the
love
comments.
this artist, and I followed her for years, and she has a very particular style. And then one of my other favorite religious artists made this beautiful like painting and shared it. And within like a few weeks, the other artist that I followed for years made a very similar like illustration. And it was very different from her style I've seen for years. And so I like messaged her and I'm like, this probably wasn't intentional. I know you're a good person. And I talked to her about it. And she was like, I didn't even think of that. That probably did influence it a lot. And she's like, I see, like, there are definitely like, because it was like you held them up next to each other, and there's no way she didn't like look at it.
Yeah.
And reference it. And the artist, like, they ended up talking, and the artist that was like copied off of, she was like, if you just change a few things, like, I'm okay with you selling it, you know, and stuff. But it's just such a hard line to walk. It's so tricky.
Yeah. That's why they gave me the topic for the speech.
It was like, and here we are.
Kelly, you
I'm
probably-
all of this.
I got
you probably
handed
don't
this.
know this.
Did you help
But,
write this one?
Years ago, when they were rewriting this class, they came to me and said, what would be the most difficult thing for a visual emphasis student to talk about?
I feel like you told me that at some point.
Or like,
Because I had that speech too.
Well,
I had that too.
No, I'm taking a class with somebody that's also in 462 that you guys all know, but I'm not going to put her out there. I'm taking the class with her. I wound up with the difficult client one, and I was like, excellent. This ties right into the failed internship that I had. This is fantastic. And she got fan art, and she was like, hey, you talk about this on Art Check. And I was like, I hate you. You owe me one. And then we traded before I even read the fan art one. And I read the fan art one. I was like, oh no.
oh no.
Oh
I wrote
no.
the difficult one too. Are there like 5 to 7 prompts?
There were only 3 for visual people.
There's
so
very
like
few for
Okay.
we
visual.
got
What
lucky.
is this?
Professional
them-
presentations.
I gave them 5 to 7. They must not have
Apparently,
liked
there's only a few moral decisions to be made in
right.
the
Yeah.
visual
They don't
world.
have
Only
wait,
few.
this
That's
is
a
a
handful.
complete side tangent. They don't even have them for video. Like all of the video students get PR ones. They have
What?
generic
That's
ones.
Sad.
Yeah, like he gave them like PR ones and like generic ones, and then at the end of the class you can go through and read stuff. And I was like, at least, and literally
Give the
my
video
first
students a
thought was,
copyright one.
yeah, and my first thought was, at least I can talk about this on Art Check and get
Yeah.
some advice. Because I don't touch fan art. I've made like a Spider-Man once because I was trying to learn Procreate, and it was not good. I'm never gonna be able to make any money
It's a
off of
great
that.
way to learn how to do stuff.
Yeah.
But
There's
I
like
mean,
a huge
even if
line
it-
between selling it and like just I practice styles. Like I've tried Emily's style. Like
I
I
remember
tried
that.
character in Emily style. I've made characters in like Avatar: The Last Airbender style, but it's like heavily referenced. But it's so I can get outside my box of like what characters look like. And
Also, like the stuff that you learn in humanities class, that's fan art too. It's Jesus fan art, it's Zeus fan art, like
Jesus fan art.
like it's all just like, hey, this story that we all love as a society. Yeah, I'm gonna make a statue about that, and people love it.
I'm going to
because
argue
they know-
a little bit with that. I would say
Really?
it's commissioned work.
That's fair, but
they
like,
weren't like I'm going to do this because I love Jesus. They were like the Catholic Church comes to them and says,
That's what I was.
we would like to pay you,
yeah.
to do this thing.
But when
We
you
would
look
like
at
to
it
pay
all,
you.
it's
to make
all
this-
just like Greek mythology or
Yeah.
Christianity. Like it's not their original IP, you know?
who
So-
owns the IP for Bible stuff? Like,
But
It
like,
depends. It depends,
Yeah.
but it would be in the public domain at this point.
yeah.
yeah.
And the other thing that I've heard is that like fan art makes for good portfolio work. Like they can see, oh, you are a good character designer because look at how you took this character that I already know what it looks like and you did this. I can
Yeah, your
see
own.
immediately what your spin on something is.
Mhm,
So it's
yeah.
a good and then Cory, you talked about this, I think, but like I remember, did anybody read Percy Jackson books? Like the
Oh yeah.
yeah. So the hired artist to draw the characters everybody hated all of the pictures. Everybody was like, "That's not Percy. I hate it. Why does he look so chubby?" And like, and Annabeth looked all weird. Like everybody hated everything.
Everybody
that this
hated
artist
Disney for
made.
doing Percy Jackson too.
Oh yeah, and then but there was wonderful fan art of that, and he hired a fan artist to be like, yeah, everybody goes nuts over the stuff that you make. Can you make more of it, and I'll pay you? So like do what you want, but when it comes to making money, just be pragmatic about it and be logical about it. But if you want to make fan art, do it.
Or like
you know?
different levels, like making fan art based heavily off references and tracing to like learn. And like I made like a Hermione character drawing, definitely in a totally different style. Well, because she's like a drawing, but like also she was Black and like looked very different. And like then there are like things that are way farther, so
I think you've got a pretty good argument in the actual text that she's Black.
Yeah, I know, I agree. That's why I made her that way.
That's the really quick. I knew that you made this because I had heard that you made the other one, and I asked my professor, I was like, can I go talk to like visual professors about it? He's like, yeah, you should go talk to Kerr. And I was like, yeah, he made this. Exactly that. But yeah, no, this was helpful. Definitely. I have more. Literally, this speech is going to be, here's the issue. Let's look at Disney, and it's going to be, I'm just going to talk about Kimba and all of this stuff.
Well, but I wouldn't.
It's going to be a summation of art check.
What side of the issue are you on? Kayla, what side of the issue are you arguing for or against?
Yeah, so I'm arguing. Yeah. Well, the issue is that you're also being like peer pressured in this scenario, and that's why you're having to defend yourself against the people that are peer pressuring you into selling it or not. I think I'm gonna say like yes, but it depends on the company. And it depends on what. I'm definitely going to go into like transformative versus derivative, like for sure. I decided that like when you and I first talked that I was going to go into kind of what that is.
I think that's the biggest part of it.
Yeah. So I think I'm going to go into transformative versus derivative. And then I'm basically going to say it's okay if I'm doing this. It's not okay if I'm doing this. So neither side. Mate, I don't know if that's going to be okay because it's supposed to be a problem solution speech, and that's not really me finding a solution. That's more me being like,
the world is gray, Kayla.
I know.
The gray answer is okay.
It really is.
Yeah, no. I hear this. The world is not black and white speech. I've heard it a lot. So
you're like, here's your gray answer, everybody.
Yeah,
muddy and gray.
Give you gray answers because I love nuance, and the world is very nuanced. But it's an interesting thing. I would say from a legal. Sorry, go ahead.
I don't think that there is a blanket answer is the issue because, like Kylie and I talked about it, and she was like, "There's Schitt's Creek. They love fan art being sold and made and all that stuff." And then, like you said, like George Lucas encouraged people to make fan films and stuff like that. And so there's like histories of companies actually like encouraging people to do this. However, if you go after the mouse, you're going to have some issues. So I don't know. I don't think it's fair. It's not fair that it's phrased as a black and white question.
Yeah.
But I'm going to make it. I'm going to just force it to be gray. And hopefully people in my speech follow me because only like 5 of us in the class are visual people.
What?
Yeah, it's not it's a small class. Well, I'm retaking it for fun. I've TA'd this class.
The biggest thing that I would be looking for as a teacher, and I don't want to speak for other teachers,
is
your ability to make your point, not whether or not you chose one side or the other side. And so if you're making a point about it being gray, I think you're fine, as long as you make that point well. But the You guys want to see my whale that I just finished?
Yeah.
You finished that?
Well,
Welcome
no,
to Freak.
I finished all the in-betweens. So now he doesn't move in such a jerky way.
Oh. Ooh.
There he
I got the
goes.
speed down correctly, but yeah, that's only 10 drawings instead of the 20 I thought I might have to do. So
That's nice.
Hey.
yeah. And this is heavily referenced off of talk about copyright and fan art off of a video that I saw of this wooden creature.
Wow.
I mean, by the
Oh,
time
yeah.
I'm done, I'm hoping to significantly transform it so that it's unrecognizable. But yeah. So anyway.
I know we're way over, but I have one more question. If I ever have something I need to draw, I go to Unsplash, get completely like royalty free photos. Because like you can like ones that you can use for commercial use, you can use for whatever, like they're like use it for whatever, you see them on billboards and stuff. And I'm like, okay, like if I could use the photo, can I not like heavily reference it for things? Like, do you think that's okay?
Yeah, they're
Would be great.
I mean, when you're looking at Creative Commons 0, which is what Unsplash is, they are in essence giving a blanket license to everybody to do anything they want.
Anything, yeah.
And that's what I always do. Like, and I asked, like I've asked that for, I will always go to that. If I have to, like I did for the vaccination, like graphic I like found lots of vaccination photos on Unsplash and I could like trace it. I'm like, I'm pretty sure that's okay because you can use this picture for profit, like if you want it.
Yeah. So here's the interesting thing. It's legally okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. You could literally not even use a tracing, but you could just grab the photo and put it into your own design and that would be fine. Yeah.
It's just a matter of like not saying, like you don't want to like get to the point where you're like claiming, like I'm not claiming ownership. Like I'm not taking a photo. Like I took this because that's like a different story.
But it's legally okay. My argument would be, is it the best thing to do for your brand and for you as an artist?
No.
Because what if you can't find the right picture? Like I would rather, have you use photos and videos to understand what it looks like and then you draw it rather than tracing it, right? Because if you get that understanding, then you can, like, for example, I did a children's book about a sparrow. And so like I traced over probably 50 different pictures of sparrows with the goal of understanding the body mechanics of a sparrow. And then I put all that aside and I drew the sparrow in the book. Right. And so I did trace. None of my tracing stuff ended up in the book, but I traced for like a construction of like, it's basically 2 circles and like 3 triangles that make up a sparrow. And so once I understood that animal from a bunch of different angles and stuff, I didn't need reference anymore. So I think
that's always ideal. I agree, because I don't think you grow as an artist if you're just constantly tracing like Creative Commons 0 like stuff. And that's why I've like really moved away from it. For a while, I was like, I can't draw people. I have to trace people. I have to find an Unsplash photo of a person and trace them. Like I just was really uncomfortable, and I'm still quite uncomfortable, but I've like definitely moved away. Like that's the first time I've done that in a really long time. It's probably the only image on my Instagram, like my business page, that has that, just because it's like, it doesn't feel like you're an artist really when you're just like trace it. Well, except for the commissioned portraits, but
that's a whole different discussion. But I also don't want people to think that I'm against reference photos, because I heavily reference people all the time. People are hard. Yeah. People are hard to draw. Yeah. But anyway, you guys sound like you're trying to wrap it up, so I'll stop talking.
Well, that's fun.
Honestly, if I didn't have to do my 18 days tonight, I could keep talking about this for a really long. Yeah, it's been a day.
I like water bottle.
It didn't click until I looked at the time and I was like, it's 9:30 and the sun is gone, so I have to do one of my indoor pictures.
Oh man.
Nice.
Otherwise, I could keep going about this for a very, very long time.
Yeah.
But thank you, Kerr, for coming on. If you want to find my stuff, go to @the_comeback. It's so weird that it moves it all. Go to @the_comeback_KLD on Instagram. That is actually where I'm posting my mock-ups for everybody to see. So if you want to check those out, it's there. If you want to find Emily, go to @Guminelli on literally anything. If you go to a platform, you type in Guminelli and nothing pops up. She's not there, except Etsy won't let me pull up her shop. So she is on Etsy. You're just gonna have to find a way
Just
to
go to
find her.
my website because
There's a link
there.
tree, right?
Yeah. But
Down below.
Use the
my
link
Etsy,
tree.
it's actually a tab on my website. Just go to guminelli.com.
There we go. If you want to find Kiley's work, go to @petals.inc_. And if you want to find Cory Kerr's work, go to Cory R. Kerr. And then is the IRS agency, that's in an hour, right?
It's in 30 minutes.
In 30
dang.
minutes. What comic is tonight?
Tonight, Josh is doing, he's doing, I think, Windsor McKay. Let's see, hold on. Where is it? There you go. It's right there. Yeah, we're doing Windsor McKay, His Life and Art by John Canemaker.
Nice.
So go check out this. Oh, you can't even see your face if I put it there. Go check out this link and you can find all their stuff. And they go live in 30 minutes on the specific IRS agency YouTube channel. But that all being said, thank you everybody for watching.
Go around.